Hi, Graham. Really excited to have you here. This title of the panel is Leadership Strategies for Sustainability Transformation. I'm very excited to have Graham Beardsell, Chief Executive Officer of Fujitsu Asia Pacific. Just to set the scene really quickly before I get into some questions, transforming businesses in a way that drives positive and lasting change for our environments, our economies, and our society involves looking at economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. Many sustainable challenges are problems of inefficiency, and one of the solutions could be a technological one, used to optimize benefits and reduce waste. But technology alone is not enough, and I think that's what we really want to get into today. Businesses, governments, and societies need to create new models of openness and trust to solve some of these problems. In this session, we'll hear insights and experiences from Fujitsu Asia on embedding that into organizations and technologies. So let me kick this off, Graham, with a question on Fujitsu and sustainability initiatives. How did Fujitsu create and drive buy-in for these types of sustainability initiatives?
Okay, thanks very much, Shimano, and good morning to everyone. Thank you for the time, and Sawadee Krap. Right, to that question, where Fujitsu's sustainability journey started, which defines everything we do with our customers as well, it starts at the very top. Our purpose is to make the world more sustainable by building trust in society through innovation. That is a very, very broad canvas upon which to work, and it's one of the things that drew me to Fujitsu 4 years ago. They're very, very different to some of the financial imperatives that a lot of my previous employers had. We also then break it down into what does that mean for each and every employee, each and every partner in our ecosystem, and our customers as well. And we focus on, like you do at The Economist, 3 Ps, but slightly differently. The planet, people, and prosperity. And those 2 things, the purpose and the 3 key areas under the purpose, drives us to look at how we become a more efficient and sustainable company, how we connect better with communities, because sustainability isn't just about carbon neutrality, it's about, and I was in a session yesterday, a round table over lunch, where we were talking about impact on the environment in terms of biodiversity and impact on the planet in not just your carbon footprint, but your footprint generally, the impact on things like the water table, food production, etc. So that's the broad context. And then what we do internally, we set up a program called Fujitra, which is an internal digital transformation and sustainability transformation project. Every single person in the company globally, about 130,000 people, are signed up to the Fujitra program, wherein we have redesigned the company around 7 key product areas. We had thousands of products. We've redesigned the company around 7 key product areas, all of which speak to the ecosystem that we want to build in the future, which is a sustainable ecosystem that pays due respect to all elements of the environment and does not have an impact on the community, very light touch. What we recognize though, and the reason we kicked off Fujitra, is to really give people a framework in the organization to come up with new ideas. New ideas in technology, of course. We want to maintain our technology leadership. We are a for-profit company and we wish to continue to grow the business. But in the context of the environment, in the context of the communities we operate in, how can our people at the very lowest level who interact with the communities, who interact with the ecosystem, how can they make change? And what we've done is changed a lot of our reward systems to now put a spotlight on people who have impact in the community, people who have ideas to help us get to a better sustainability footprint, and people who bring to us companies and future customers that work in this space. Yep. A couple of just very quick examples is an employee of ours made us aware of a company that are called Botanical Water that works in recycling industrial use water, recycling it to a point where not only can it be used for other industrial uses rather than drained into the ocean, but back into the water table. In India, we're working with this company to take water that cools data centers, and instead of just draining that out into the ocean, we're getting that water, this company is recycling it with some really innovative technology. The data management around it we're providing, and they're putting that water back into the water table. So we're fixing a big issue that tech companies have in their sustainability, which is running data centers, building technology, and using water to cool as well as heat, and driving that water back not just into the industrial sphere, but back into the water table. Big issue in India.
Yep.
Just one example.
Thanks. And it's good that you have the ability to sort of drive innovation from many sources in the organization. What other new business or collaboration models in technology do you think that we need to see or to explore to drive sustainability?
For us, and for me in particular here in Asia, and I was talking about this yesterday, we can't do it alone. We're kidding ourselves if one company thinks they can have the impact that we need on the environment to address the climate change and also the food shortage change and the impact of the environmental crisis. We just saw the previous speaker talk about the impact of El Nino effects on places like Bangkok. So what we're doing is looking at what our ecosystem is. And in that, we pick up not only scope 1 and 2, but the very difficult scope 3 as well.
Yeah.
So we have committed globally to be carbon neutral by 2030. So that's scope 1 and 2 effectively and our global footprint. In fact, what we wish to do, working with companies like Botanical Water and others, is actually give back to the environment. In Australia, for example, we're working with an Indigenous group to make solar power and wind power the key factors of our power footprint in Australia. And our short-term goal is to get not only to carbon neutrality, but to put back into the grid, just as another example. So what we're doing in that context is talking to our partners, and what we've also said publicly is that we will be fully, through our whole production chain, through our whole ecosystem, so scope 3 down to the lowest level, the smallest widget, we will be totally carbon neutral and totally green by 2040. And that requires us to be very focused on what all the factors of production are, who's in our supply chain. And it's not just our direct supply chain, but increasingly we go to market with some of the biggest IT firms in the world who are our partners. They provide services to us. We take their software typically or hardware and provide services to our customer. We want to inspect the whole supply chain.
Yep.
And as a digital transformation company, and I encourage everyone to go to the digital transformation workshop this afternoon. As a digital transformation company, we believe digital transformation, which a lot of people use as a term now, is all about data management, all about using data wisely to make the right business and environment or sustainability decisions, and then at a very basic level, securing that data, making sure that wherever you store your data, whoever you work with storing your data, whether it's in the cloud or decreasingly on premise, you work with a company who can ensure that you have data security, because the last thing we want is details about how we're transforming our businesses. The last thing we want is details about local communities that are really personal getting out on the dark web.
Yeah. You talked about, going all the way down to that last widget by 2040 and being carbon neutral. That's ambitious. And you have lots of suppliers and stakeholders to work with. How do you bring out that change in them? How do you convince them or help them to adopt those kinds of changes?
Yeah. It's kind of an old business adage. I'm not sure who quoted the term, and I'll get it a bit wrong, but if it's meaningful, measure it. So we're all about measuring different elements of the supply chain, measuring our suppliers' performance, measuring how our partners work with us to achieve joint goals. And we have signed up with some of the biggest software companies in the world who are our suppliers and our partners on consistent and measurable impacts in communities, but also more generally as organisations. And we have the capability to bring data and AI to those measurement systems to build dashboards. Here in Thailand, for example, we're working with one of the world's biggest car manufacturers. It won't take you long to guess who that is, given that I represent a Japanese company. They're one of our biggest customers worldwide. We've actually built with them a dashboard that interrogates their supply chain for carbon footprint.
Yep.
So they can see real time through us organising their data, us working with them on what the important metrics were, bringing that to an executive dashboard. We're piloting that here in Bangkok, and that will be rolled out to the rest of the world. So that's something that is really putting our money where our mouth is.
Yep.
And where we've seen the success with that car manufacturer, we're bringing that back into Fujitsu.
Yep.
I have a similar dashboard that I can look at every day.
Yep.
Also here in Thailand, we're working with a company, PPP, which is a palm oil manufacturer, and we're working with Green PPP to ensure that the way that they manage their compute, the way they manage their supply chain is optimal. We've helped them move away from a very carbon-heavy footprint for computing to a cloud computing footprint, and bring in world-class systems to manage their supply chain and manage how they then can get to their green goals, and we can then help them go to future customers and say, look, here's all the data we've got
Yep.
about why we're the right choice. And here in Thailand, there's a lot of competition in the region for palm oil production, and there's a very sharp focus on making sure that it's green and it's sustainable.
Yeah. And one more question to kind of round off the discussion. You mentioned in the beginning, planet, people, prosperity.
Mhm.
Is the order important?
You know what? If my global CEO and president's watching this, he'll probably say he got the order wrong. I play with the order, but I think at the highest level, planet is very, very important, right?
Yeah.
It's all about the planet we live on. It's a small space in the universe, and we know from everything we read on sustainability and everything we read on the climate crisis that it's under duress. That we're at a critical time in our life, and as leaders in business, and also earlier on there was talk about the connection with government, I think we have to all focus on policies and business processes that have an eye on the planet. People, there's nearly 8 billion of us on the planet. Everything we do, to look at what the previous speaker said about the capillaries, not just the arteries, everything that everyone does really matters. And when you're part of a corporation or a government organisation or a community, your voice matters. The smallest voice can matter. Change can happen at the community level. And then if we get that right, if we've got people focused on a sustainable planet, if we've got the ability to measure what the sustainability and transformation looks like, if we've got the ability to work together in an ecosystem, connect to communities, then prosperity will come. And prosperity doesn't have to be at the detriment of the society in which we live and the planet in which we live. And that's where we pick up things like looking at how we give back to the water table.
Yep.
How we work with a city like Jakarta to make sure that they don't have issues with flooding and they can build a sustainable future. We're also working with them on what the new capital of Indonesia might look like and how, right from the word go, that is sustainable. So we're trying to, wherever we can, put our money where our mouth is. And some of these endeavours, we also look at what we do from a not-for-profit point of view and make sure that our endeavours are geared towards community empowerment, diversity and inclusion as well. Because one thing we recognise increasingly in the IT space, and I recognise that there's a lot of people who are not included in the IT space and in STEM generally, and we have a responsibility to make sure we include them to get different views and different perspectives, because no one company, no one person can solve the problems it faces.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's a very good illustration of how the overarching philosophy or that underpins your sort of business initiatives. Just to quickly sum up, I think you said that it starts at the top with this philosophy. You can't do it alone, so you're constantly looking for different stakeholders, whether they're clients or others. If it's meaningful, measure it. The use of data, not only sort of for itself and for measurement, but also I like that example of when you took something out with one of your clients, you then brought it back inside as well. So that sort of iterative process is quite unique. And then you ended with the smallest voice matters as well, right? So getting
Yep.
a diverse set of opinions. Thank you so much for that, Graham. Graham's the Chief Executive Officer of Fujitsu Asia Pacific. Please join me in thanking him.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
The next panel is Defining Sustainability, Taxonomies, and Regional Standardization. My colleague Andrew Staples, who's the Editorial Director, Initiatives and Alliances, and Head of Policy and Insights, will moderate the session. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.